The engagement moved at dizzying speed. Fatima, Khalid's mother, initially skeptical of this foreign woman who had appeared so suddenly in her son's life, arranged a whirlwind of appointments, designers for the wedding abaya and gown. Sarah would wear both, a blend of traditions to appease the family, jewelers for rings that could fund a small country's infrastructure, and endless meetings with wedding planners who spoke in hushed tones about guest lists that included sheiks, European aristocrats, and Bollywood stars. Sarah threw herself into the role. She learned basic Arabic phrases, studied Emirati customs, smiled through teas with Khalid's aunts who eyed her like a curiosity in a museum. She told herself this was redemption, a way out of the shame she'd carried like a second skin. With Khalid's ring on her finger, the past could stay buried. She would be reborn as Sarah al-Rashid, respected, protected, loved. But secrets have weight, and Sarah's were heavier than most. It started with small lies. When Fatima asked about her family, Sarah spoke vaguely of a quiet middle-class upbringing in Hamburg, parents who were teachers, no siblings, a childhood filled with books and museums. The truth was messier, a father who'd left when she was 7, a mother lost to cancer during her final year of university, leaving behind medical debts that swallowed Sarah's inheritance before it even materialized. Then there were the bigger lies, the ones she never spoke aloud. Like how she'd carefully deleted her profile from the Elite Companions site only after accepting Khalid's proposal. How she'd scrubbed her digital footprint as best she could, paying a shady IT guy in Hamburg to erase old photos and reviews. How every time Khalid touched her with that gentle reverence, guilt twisted in her gut like a knife. The real danger, though, wasn't the past catching up. It was what the past had left behind. 2 weeks before the wedding, during a fitting at a couture house in Dubai Mall, Sarah's phone buzzed in her Birkin bag, a gift from Khalid. She excused herself to the powder room, heart pounding for no reason she could name. The message was from an unknown number, but the words made her blood run cold. "Congratulations on your engagement, Sarah. Or should I say, Lena? The Swiss banker sends his regards. He was very disappointed when you disappeared without notice. Some people don't like loose ends." Attached was a photo. Her photo. From 2 years ago, in lingerie she'd forgotten she owned, posed on that same cheap bed in her Hamburg studio. The one she'd thought was deleted forever. Sarah deleted the message with shaking fingers, but more came. Always from different numbers. Always with new photos, new threats. Someone had been watching her, collecting evidence. Someone knew exactly who she was and what she'd done. She told herself it was a bluff. That she'd pay whatever they wanted once she was married, once she had access to Khalid's money. But the demands never came. Only warnings. Careful, Habibti. Not everyone believes in fairy tales. Now, in the Mercedes gliding toward the Palace Hotel where the pre-wedding henna ceremony awaited, Sarah stared at Fatima's perfect profile and wondered if the older woman knew. Those intense dark eyes, had they seen the messages? Had private investigators already delivered a dossier thick with Sarah's sins? The car slowed at a security checkpoint. Armed guards waved them through gates that gleamed gold under floodlights. Beyond lay the hotel's private beach, transformed for tomorrow's ceremony, lanterns floating in infinity pools, floral arches dripping with orchids flown in from Thailand, a stage where Sarah would sit enthroned while artists painted intricate henna across her hands and feet. In 6 hours, she would be marked as Khalid's. In 12, according to the latest message that had arrived just before they left the penthouse, she would be exposed. Enjoy your last night as Sarah Weber. Tomorrow, the world learns who you really are. Sarah's hand tightened around Fatima's. The older woman turned, concern creasing her brow. "Are you all right, my dear? You've gone quite pale." Sarah forced a smile that felt like glass cracking. "Just overwhelmed by it all," she whispered. "By how much my life is about to change." Fatima squeezed her fingers. "Change is frightening. But you've proven stronger than anyone expected. Whatever comes, you'll face it as an al-Rashid now." Sarah closed her eyes, watching the Burj Khalifa's lights blur through unshed tears. If only Fatima knew how wrong she was. If only Sarah knew that the real threat wasn't exposure. It was something much worse. And it was already inside the palace walls. The Palace Hotel's private beach hummed with quiet efficiency as staff made final adjustments under the veil of night. Sarah stepped out of the Mercedes on unsteady legs, the warm Gulf breeze carrying the faint scent of jasmine and sea salt. Fatima guided her toward the transformed shoreline, where the henna ceremony awaited like a glittering trap. The setup was breathtaking, infinity pools edged with hundreds of floating lanterns casting golden ripples across the water, massive arches woven with white orchids and roses that cascaded like waterfalls, and at the center, an ornate throne-like chair draped in silk and gold thread, surrounded by low tables laden with silver bowls of henna paste, essential oils, and crystal dishes of dates and sweets. Sarah's heart hammered as she was led to the throne. Khalid's female relatives, his aunts, cousins, and close family friends, were already seated on plush cushions arranged in a semicircle, their abayas a sea of black embroidered with gold and silver threads. Soft traditional music played from hidden speakers, the mournful notes of an oud mingling with women's quiet laughter and conversation. Fatima settled beside her, pride evident in her posture. "You look radiant, Habibti," she murmured, adjusting the edge of Sarah's elegant white thobe. "This night is yours." The henna artists, two older Emirati women renowned for their skill, knelt before Sarah with graceful deference. They began the ritual slowly, dipping their cones into the paste and starting the intricate patterns on her palms, delicate swirls that represented fertility, prosperity, and protection. Sarah watched numbly as the cool paste traced across her skin, each line feeling like another chain binding her to this new life. The women chatted around her, asking gentle questions about her excitement for the wedding, complimenting her beauty, sharing stories of their own henna nights. Sarah answered mechanically, her smile fixed in place while her mind raced. In 12 hours, she would be exposed. The latest message had been specific: tomorrow, during the wedding ceremony itself, the truth would be revealed to everyone. Not just Khalid and Fatima, the entire guest list. Sheiks, dignitaries, the press. Her past laid bare like the henna on her hands. As the artists moved to her feet, Sarah's gaze drifted across the gathering. Most faces were familiar now, the aunts who'd tested her with probing questions over tea, Khalid's younger sister who'd warmed to her slowly. But there was one woman she didn't recognize. She sat slightly apart from the others, near the edge of the circle. Mid-30s, perhaps, with sharp features and eyes that seemed to watch Sarah with particular intensity. Unlike the others, she wore no jewelry, no elaborate embroidery on her abaya. Just simple black, almost severe. When their eyes met, the woman smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Sarah's blood turned to ice. The woman raised her phone subtly, angling it toward Sarah as if taking a photo of the ceremony. But Sarah saw the screen, a familiar image. The same lingerie photo that had been sent to her. The stranger's lips moved, forming words Sarah could read clearly across the distance. Tick-tock. Fatima noticed Sarah's sudden rigidity. "What is it, child?" Sarah tore her gaze away, forcing her voice steady. "Nothing. Just, the henna feels cold." But inside, the pieces were falling into place with terrifying clarity. This wasn't a distant blackmailer operating through messages. The person who'd been collecting her secrets, watching her every move, sending the threats. She was here. Among them. Part of the family circle. And whatever came tomorrow wasn't just exposure. It was personal. As the final intricate patterns were completed on her hands, beautiful, binding, permanent, Sarah realized with dawning horror that the real threat hadn't come from her past at all. It had been waiting for her in her future.